Hello, Elton. Welcome to the show. I will be your host, and I heard you got some cool stories to tell me here. So let's dive right into it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I guess I'll start with this story when I was in elementary school. When I was growing up, I lived pretty close to this elementary school. Is this large brick building, but there was two different parts to it. So there was like this older school and then kind of like a newer built attachment to it. Anyways,
Like an
um,
expansion to the school.
yeah, like an expansion. They were kind of separate buildings, but it
Yeah,
was like a couple second walk to each one. Anyways, we would go on our recess or go on our lunch, and I can't remember what started it or how it even started, but there was a like half basement in the old brick building, and there was like this really dusty, dark kind of like storage slash library area underneath, like in this basement area.
it's like
And
half below the ground, I guess.
yeah. So if you went to a specific side of the school, there was windows that you could look into. They were kind of like partially papered up, but not papered up, so you could see into them, but it was also dark and dusty, so it was kind of hard to see into them.
But it was
Um,
like blocked off otherwise.
yeah. So I don't know how it started, but this would have been like early 2000s. Some of the kids started saying like that's where Bloody Mary lives. And so as a like 6-year-old kid, I'm like, "Oh god, this is so scary." And it's like bright day out, but you look into these windows and it's just like super dark, and we'd always kind of almost look forward to it at lunch, being like, "Let's go check out the basement and see what's there." And around these windows, it's kind of like a concrete, like a small little concrete path. There's like small footsteps in the concrete as well. I'm assuming whenever the building was built, they were put there. But like,
Like people's footprints, like their shoe
yeah,
prints.
I think they were like, yeah, people like small people footprints, like kids footprints. I'm assuming
Yeah,
they were put there
probably
whenever it
like
was.
students at the time.
Yeah, exactly. But like when you've got this image of Bloody Mary living in the basement of your school and then footprints being outside of these windows, it's like, "Oh god."
They
And
were hers.
so, yeah, that was kind of one of the main things, and eventually because nobody went into this basement, um eventually I was like grade 5 or grade 6 or something like that. We had to go down to the basement and we had to find something, or I can't remember what it was, but like nobody goes into this area, and there was like three of us that got sent to go there, and
Yeah.
like I'm panicking the whole time, like, oh god, it's the basement, nobody goes here. It's so dark and scary. Um, yeah, we ended up going in there. There's like old desks, like flip up desks. Yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, we had stuff like that at my school where there were just rooms we had never been in before. And then I think we locked a kid into one of them and then
Uh,
like turned off the lights and were like, he's gonna get you, he's gonna get you. And then like let him out and cry and like, why is Jonathan crying? Like, I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that's basically that story. We never, I mean, there was nothing living in that basement of the school, of course, but as a kid and having that in the back of your mind as you're like going out to lunch, it's like, what's down there?
Yeah, our old school was super old and there's a bunch of rooms I've never seen. And like I don't know how far the school goes because there's like in the middle, there's, like, a staircase that goes down, and we went to, like, the left, and there's a bunch of rooms. But now that I'm thinking about it, it probably went fully to the right too, but, like, because I know I seen the one room opened and was, like, an old boiler and, like, a paper mill or something in there, and I was like, "What's in there?" And the teacher's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's like it probably actually went way farther because our school was kind of big.
Mm. Yeah, I think old brick schools probably the scariest.
You got any other spooky stories?
Let's see. Um, Maybe not spooky, in the sense of like boo, but spooky in the sense of it was
In the
spooky
sense
for
of
me in the
ah.
moment. Yeah, so I used to be in this youth group, and I think we were doing like a bottle drive or something like that. And after the bottle drive, we all went to one of the houses that people lived at. Anyways, they
Like
had a
one of the
pool.
people in the bottle drive?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So they had a pool, and we had like a backyard barbecue, like pool afternoon. Just to kind of be like, hey, we raised money or whatever. We got a bunch of bottles from people, and we got X amount of money. Anyways, um, I can't remember how old I was at the time. Maybe like 11 or 12 or something like that. Maybe I was a little older. I can't recall. Anyways, there was a couple of youth leaders there. We were all good friends and having a good time, and we were watching people jump off this small diving board. And I was pretty big into wrestling, and so I somehow convinced one of the youth leaders to tackle me off the diving board into the pool.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake I've made ever, probably. So, um, I get up onto this diving board. It's not very high. It's only a couple feet off the pool, but um I'm standing on the edge of the diving board. My
Yeah.
youth leader, I don't know, he's probably like 29, 30 years old, and I'm like small little scrawny kid at like 12. Anyways, I'm standing at the end of the diving board, and he starts running at me and like pile drives me into the water, just like full on full force, just shoulder into my chest. Like, I don't know, I thought he would go soft on me, I guess. I immediately get the wind knocked out of me. I'm like in the water, like breathing in water, and I'm like I'm like trying to figure out where I am. And I eventually get my head out of water, and I think he had already like swam off. He didn't care. And I'm like
He was like, "It's too
trying to
choppy."
like breathe and get out of the water, and I finally like get to the edge of the pool, and some random person that was also there is like, "Hey Elton, are you okay?" And I'm like,
No,
"Yes." I'm like
no.
half dying, like thought it was all over for me,
You're
but
fine. You're supposed to lean or like go with the shot.
yeah, I don't know. I looked over, and he's already like celebrating with his
That's
friends, or like back to
funny.
having a good time after he like pile drive
He
me into
just
the
like
water.
nuked you and didn't even look back. He was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. He's like, Elton's
like a
fine,
walk-off
probably. I'm not
KO.
gonna check on him.
Good youth leader.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was a big mistake. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it's like, it's wrestling. He'll not go full force on me, and then just obliterates me into the water. Um, yeah, that was a little scary, because I thought it was over for me when I was in the water.
The only thing I have like similar to that is when I was on the soccer team, we had like a charity or like donation thing where we were paid to deliver all the phone books.
Mhm.
And I remember every once in a while I'd go up to like a house and I'd get real close and all of a sudden I'd be here, ooh, like a dog like jumping at the door. And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, I gotta put the phone book in. So I like push it through like the mail slot even slightly, and the dog just like, "Arr!" And then it rips it out of my hand and through the door, and you just hear it like barking at it and like tearing
Oh,
it to shreds. And I'm like, well, you should have trained your dog better if you're gonna complain about this. And I just like scurry away, hoping the dog never came after me.
dang. And dogs can be scary sometimes, especially if you don't know them and they're like barking at you a lot.
Yeah, and like Dog's gotta protect the house, and then was like, "What
Mhm.
is this?" But then again, like, it probably gets mail every day, so, like, the mailman's like, "I gotta go up to 7351 again. Oh, no." And he's, like, trembling as he puts, like, imported, like, paychecks through, the thing, and just hearing them, like, going through a paper shredder on the other side pretty much. I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah. I think the only I have something similar. So I grew up on a res, and it's not much of a so res dogs can be kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, there was two dogs specifically, a couple houses down that were like pretty aggressive if you got kind of close to them. Anyways,
Like,
me
to
and my
them
one
or, like, the
friend,
property?
to like anybody that got close,
Okay,
um,
fair enough.
because they were just chained up to this like wire that would go back and forth, so they had kind of some space to run around.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, me and my one of my good friends, we would bike up and down the road every now and then, and he had come over to my place and he's like, "Oh, let's go." So I hop on my bike and we're biking up the road and we realize the dogs are loose. Oh my goodness, I've never biked so fast. Those dogs were like I can't remember what happened specifically, but they ended up getting behind us and chasing us up the road. And it's like it's like because we knew these dogs were like kind of scary, but man, having dogs chase you while you're trying to bike away from them is not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we had in my like, when I was super little, like 5, in that neighborhood, there was a dog that lived nearby who was, like, pretty sure, unfortunately, like, abused and was, like, super violent, but was always in, like, the backyard, and, like, you could hear it if you were going by, and their house was, like, on the edge of, like, a little park, like a forested park, and one day I was, like, building like a tree fort or something. So I'm like wandering around like the forest area and I'm like picking up branches and I'm like making like a little lean to or something. And I remember I was carrying this gigantic branch and it must have been like high enough that the dog could see it like moving above the fence because the fence was like at least 6 feet tall and it was just like and it was like whatever and it went boom, and it hit against the gate, and the gate came open, and I like turned, and I was like, the
Oh,
dog was like, "Brrr," it started after me, and it just
oh
like
no.
started like sprinting through like the forest. I don't know if it chased after me, and like I ran across like two people on like a trail. They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, dog chasing me." And that dog was violent because I remember my sister was walking with a friend, and they were like not that old either. And the dog got loose and bit my sister's friend in like the butt, and we
Ooh.
went to like the doctor, and they had to like remove one of its teeth from her butt.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, good dog.
Wow.
Yeah, I still have the image of it bursting through the gate in my brain to this day.
Like PTSD. Dang.
Come on, give me one more. You got any other spooky stories, scary stories, creepy stories?
Um, so I've got two that I could possibly do. One's a bit of a shorter one, and one's a bit of a more like tense one. Which would you like to hear?
Mm, hit me with the tense one, and then we'll finish off with a nice short one.
Sounds good. Um, so I used to work at a gas station.
Just
Um,
terrifying.
growing up, yeah, yeah.
The
um,
horrors of minimum wage.
this gas station had a bit of drama. The original building for the gas station was burnt down in arson by the manager that owned the gas station.
Like,
He like tried to do
owned
it
it
for
while
insurance
you
money.
were
No,
there? Like the
no.
old
So
manager burnt down the old building?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they found out that he did it and they started building a new gas station.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm working this day and there's like so there's this whole log building that they're trying to build, and there's like a moat kind of around the building that they're using to I guess do, I don't know what
Maybe
the heck they were
drainage,
doing.
like a drainage ditch or something,
Yeah, it could have been something like that. Anyways, they had a crane there.
in case
Um,
the French come, and then
yeah,
you could defend the
exactly.
castle.
They'll drown in the moat. Uh, anyways, there's people down in this little like moat area around the building, doing whatever they were doing. Couldn't quite see in there. Anyways, there was also people working on building the roof for this building,
Yeah,
and every now and then I'd look over and I'd watch them put roof piece after roof piece on top of this building. And at one point, there was two sections of like let's like segments, two squares of the building left. And instead of doing one by one of these roof sections, they tried to do both sections at the same time. So they strapped up this roof. They got it all like they got the roof in to be one piece instead of two pieces, and they strapped
yeah.
it up to the crane. Did whatever they were doing before. They start lifting this roof piece up, and I'm like filling the gas on this car. They just as I'm like looking over,
This
watching.
ain't my problem.
Yeah, so I'm watching this roof piece go up, and it slowly is moving to go over top of the roof. It's just about lined up. It's like just about fully over the roof. And next thing you know it, you hear one of the straps that's like screwed into the roof snap,
Yeah.
or like get ripped out of the roof. And so now there's only three straps holding the roof up, and immediately after that happens, the remaining straps all rip out of the roof piece as well. So this roof section ends up falling like 10 feet onto the roof and then snapping, and then half of it fell into the moat where people were working. And I'm like, oh god. And I knew there was people in there, and I'm like immediately like my hands start shaking. I grab my phone, I'm like calling 911, like, hello 911, what's the emergency? I'm like, oh my god, the roof just fell on a bunch of
They're in
people
the
at the
boat.
gas station.
They're in the boat.
Yeah, so I'm like full on panic. I can't even remember the address of like the main road that I'm on. It's like the main highway through our town, and I can't even remember it. I'm like full blown panic. I'm like, oh my god, my hands are shaking. I'm like, there's people in the moat, or like in the trail around the gas station. This roof fell on top of them. I'm like full blown panic of like, oh god, like
Yeah.
what just happened? Um, so I end up like people are like all going over to look, and we're all like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no!" And then we ended up finding out that the people that were down there were not specifically under that section of roof. Thankfully, they were just up a little bit. So like, thankfully, nobody was hurt in this. But man, that specific moment had my like heart race, and it's like, oh
Uh,
god, people like, because it's like mostly local people that are working on this building. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
for
my god.
sure. Small town.
Yeah, yeah, I live in a very small town. Like, woof, that was scary.
You know, for like a split second when that first strap broke, the like building manager was like, please, if it breaks, just land perfectly on top of the roof like we meant
Yeah,
to."
yeah. Whoever was watching it's like, oh my god, the strap just snapped. Oh my god, the roof just fell, and then it
Uh,
lands on the roof, but then the roof breaks because it's in two sections, so the sections broke. It's like, oh god.
it went
I felt
from
bad.
like 2 more days of work to another like 6 months of work.
Yeah, whatever it was yeah, not great. It's very very scary in the moment. Yeah, whoever made the call to do two sections of roof instead of one section of roof probably didn't realize that, because they were using the same four straps. So there's like four corners of the roof that they would strap for each one segment. They probably didn't realize that they could do four straps for two segments and
Oh,
think it would
that's
work the
true.
same. Um,
Two,
but
they're
yeah,
probably
whoever,
also like the same straps they've been using for the last 4 years, and then like as they get used, they lose a lot of their like strength and are probably supposed to have been swapped out.
Yeah, it could have been. Who
So
knows?
they might have been able to hold them when they're like new, but they ain't new.
Yeah, whoever made that call was probably fired to do the two roof segment. But
It was the
yeah,
guy
that
at
was
the gas station. He told us we could do it in one go.
yeah.
Me?
Hey, we'll save 5 minutes of time by putting up both sections instead of one section at a time.
Yeah, that's how it always goes, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the tense story. The scary story is a little bit shorter by a margin, but when I was a kid, I had this reoccurring nightmare. So in my house that I grew up, um, each level was kind of like offset on an angle. So it'd be like top floor, main floor, basement, and then there was another basement underneath the first basement, but they were like
Oh,
diagonal of each other. So it was like half
they're on
floor
like the
up each
same
version or
level,
each.
or are they like? Oh, you mean like instead of taking a full flight down, they'd go like half a flight down?
Yeah, yeah, basically. So like instead of so on the left side of the house, it's like bottom basement, main floor. On the right side of the house, it's the upper basement and top floor, for example.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just to kind of give you a decent idea. So growing up, I my bedroom was on the top floor at the very end of the house. It's not a very big house. It's mostly just like straight hallway downstairs, downstairs again, and then downstairs again. There's no more hallways really. Anyways,
Yeah.
I had this reoccurring nightmare, and of course, it was to do with the basement. I would wake up in the middle of the night. I would go down my hallway. I would go down the stairs to the main floor. I'd look down to the basement, be like, I can go down to the basement. And I'd be like, all right, how many steps down the basement can I make it? So I'd go down to the basement
You're playing
and
like
then I'd,
chicken with the darkness.
yeah, exactly. And then I'd look into the like bottom basement floor and it's like pure black. But I would immediately like turn around and start running up the stairs because I thought something was following me. And then I
Yeah.
would wake up as I would be running up the stairs.
Oh,
And I had this dream repeatedly for like months of just
that's
like I would
sucks.
wake up, I'd go downstairs again, be like, how far am I going to make it this time? And then whatever it was that would scare me to make me turn around and start running back up the stairs. Um, like I'd make it a little bit further up the stairs, maybe, and then I'd be awake. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, this yeah, I was having the dream for like, yeah, months and months. It was terrible.
Yeah. Oh. Just reoccur like any spooky reoccurring dreams terrifying.
Mhm.
I remember when I was a kid, we had like a half basement, like it was a full level, but it wasn't like fully under the ground, so it had
Mhm.
like windows that had sunlight, but they're up high. And I remember I would go down into my basement, and there was like it would terrify me because I'd look into the corner and there'd be a guy there, and then I'd be like, and I'd scurry back upstairs, and it took like it was. I just stopped going to the basement because every time I went down there, there was like a guy with like purple eyes in the corner, just like hanging out, and I'm like,
Oh god.
and then then like finally I like complained or something. My mom was like, "Go get something from the basement." I was like, "No, I don't want to die." Like, what are you talking about? And I, like went down there, and it was we had made like a Halloween like dude out of like coveralls filled with like newspapers, and it had like an
Mm.
alien mask on with like purple like cups where the eyes were, and I think they had little lights behind it, so like when those turned on, you could like the eyes were purple, but like
I see.
it was like maybe in the middle of summer, and they must have like moved stuff around and didn't tell me, and they had pulled him out of like the closet or something. So there was
Yeah.
just this alien standing in the corner in the darkness, and I'd be like, look up, and like, oh, Jesus Christ! Run upstairs again.
Yeah.
Spooky basements. I like
Dang.
basements because they're terrifying.
Mhm. So, just to kinda add, so because I grew up on this res, most of the buildings were very similar, and
Yeah.
almost every house had a scary basement. So, like, I had a few friends that lived, like, up the road,
That's so
and I'd go to
funny
their
though.
place, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna go into your basement. Your basement is scarier." And then, like, my uncle, so one of my uncles, he would put on masks sometimes, and maybe this is what started it. Like, he would always wear scary masks, and scare us, and he had probably done it in the basement at some point. And that's probably what started it, to be honest.
I like the idea of everybody's house being like almost the exact same, and you'd be like, "You got a scary basement?" And the kid in your class be like, "Yeah, I got a scary basement." And you're like, "You got the man who growls at you when you go to the basement?" Like, yeah.
So, the the first time I realized that a lot of the houses were similar because they'll have, like, 4 houses that are different. I don't know what number total of different houses they had, but it would
Yeah.
be like house variant 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it would start again 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I've seen
And
like suburbs are kind of built like that nowadays.
yeah, so I met somebody in like late elementary school who had the same house variant as us that lived up the
Uh,
road. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the basement." It's like
it's followed me
this
to
I
another
know
home.
this basement. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Especially places like that after like 20 years where they don't have like a homeowner association looking over them. So like the outside and certain stuff actually like changes as people like make them their own. So you wouldn't know maybe. And then you
Mhm,
think, wait a second, it's followed me here. Except for
mhm.
your walls are pink down here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, "Oh my god, this is my house layout, but you guys have stuff that's a little bit different."
They're really weird. It's like a dream sequence where you're like, this is my house, but it's off slightly.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, "Wait a second, this is I didn't know this was possible. I thought every house was unique." Especially as a kid.
You stole it. This
Yeah.
is my house.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically it for the stories that I've got right now, though.
Well, they were fantastic. I enjoyed them actually thoroughly. Yeah,
Well, I'm glad.
yeah, this was a lot of fun actually. This is a lot of fun.
Well,
I'll
thanks
say
for
it
having
twice.
me. It's been a
Never
pleasure.
again.
Never again.
First and last time. Well, yeah, no, thank you for being on and being the honorary first victim to be on.
Of course, of
Well,
course.
you, it's what I'm gonna call it
The
because I gotta
honorary
suffer
victim.
through this.
Yeah, this is gonna become the scary story.
Yeah, every guest he had eventually became bored.
Oh no.
Ah.
The real horror. Being bored.
This may only seem like a 30-minute episode, if that, but it actually took over 6 days to film.
Save me.
He promised me Perrier water, and I didn't get any of that.
I am not hydrated. What the heck?
I am a dry sponge right now.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
have you
exactly.
know. Anywho, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.